CBS 47 Fox 30 Action News Jax begins with breaking news.
Welcome, everyone. We're following breaking news as the Jaguars, coaches, and staff are marching from TIAA Bank Field to the sheriff's office. They're right along Bay Street right now, and they also have Black Lives Matters T-shirts on while they're doing that march.
That's right, silently, pretty much walking the last 30 minutes or so. They've been organizing over the last hour. We've brought it to you live. We want to go out to Action News Sports. Jack's Brent Martineau right now with the very latest. He's been speaking with some of the players and the coaches while they were getting ready for this march. Brent?
Yeah, absolutely, Dawn and Phil, and this has been a very peaceful protest, about a half-hour walk. They left the stadium around 9:04, and that was intentional, of course, for the 904 area code here in Jacksonville. I think there will be an acknowledgement coming up from Marcus Pollard. He's a former NFL player, works with the Jaguars as a player liaison, and he's going to address the crowd as the players and staff members and coaches and some of their families are here on the steps of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Very peaceful. In fact, there were JSO officers along the way to make sure it stayed peaceful. There were also citizens out and that saw the protest or heard about it and gave their encouragement. There were folks at the top of parking garages that looked down and also gave their encouragement. So very peaceful, very well received. And Marcus Pollard right now is addressing the crowd. We heard from Pro Bowl wide receiver DJ Chark. Josh Allen, second-year player, is also here. Jawan Taylor. Avery Jones led the march, and Avery Jones is the most tenured Jacksonville Jaguar player. And right now, Ernest Wolford is here, and I want you to listen to him if you can. He's a former Jags player, and he's also now a JSO officer, former tight end. I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear him, but let's give it a try if we can. I want to try to move a little closer.
At this moment in time, if you believe in the cause here today, we request you guys to take a knee for 1 minute.
If everybody would take a knee for 1 minute.
And that's what you're seeing, all the Black Lives Matter shirts that were handed out back at the Jags facility. It was a half-hour walk to this point, and a very peaceful one at that if you're just joining us. This was organized by the players and coaches and later extended an invitation to the staff members of the Jacksonville Jaguars organization, and that's why you see so many folks and also their families here as well. Ernest Wolford had just asked everybody to take a knee in a moment of silence here on the steps of JSO. And now Marcus Pollard is asking Terry Robisky, who's been around the NFL for a long time, hails from New Orleans, Louisiana, and he's going to address the crowd as well. We will be able to share some of these comments with you a little bit later, but right now you probably won't be able to hear him too well. The sound system is not great from where we're standing. But Terry Robisky is a running backs coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and so he now is addressing the crowd. Earlier we heard from DJ Chark. We also heard before the march took place from Josh Lambo, the Jaguars kicker, and also from Maurice Williams, who was a former Jaguars lineman and is now their team chaplain. So there's a lot of connections, past and present, to hear during this march. This was organized once again by the players. I've had some people ask me why wasn't the public invited. This wasn't really a team organized deal. It was more from the players and then extended invitation to staff. So I think there will be future events, I've been told, that the public will be invited to attend. And this is just the first part of the Jacksonville Jaguars trying to be actionable after the words from Shad Khan and his op-ed earlier this week around the death of George Floyd and the protests around the country. So I'm going to let you listen in to Terry Robisky, Jaguars running back coach, if you can hear him for a moment, and then if not, we'll send it back to Phil and Dawn.
We see athletes, we see people all the time as an individual make a statement. We see some big name actors step out front and get arrested for what they believe in because they want to make a statement. We see LeBron James say things. We see Floyd Mayweather say things. This is the first time I can tell you guys in my lifetime, I felt the organization. An organization said something. To have a head coach to step up with his family, to have a general manager to speak to all the players, black and white, and say, we're gonna make a statement. I have never, in my 45 years in the NFL, I've never seen it. And then I have the owner to come out and release the article he released and the racism that he felt, and he still feels today, was unbelievable. To the city of Jacksonville, I'm gonna say we're here today as this group, all of Jacksonville, be proud. You have something I promise to be proud of. Everybody walking out here today have a shirt on, and it said Black Lives Matter. And it does, I swear to God. I'm black, my kids are black. I'll tell Josh, you may not see the results from this, but your grandkids will, your kids will, their kids will. We're marching today because a black man got killed. And it started with that. And I know these t-shirts read, Black Lives Matter. Life is all we got. Every life matters. I think Joe D know me well enough to know if he was in a building and he was burning down, I'd go get him. Todd Walsh don't know his life matters to me. I worry with him every day on that motorcycle he rides. Joe Danner, I love the people I love. Guys, all we got is each other. Stay together. Stick together. Stand for what you believe in. And F the rest of it.
That right there is Terry Rabisky, guys, Jaguars running back coach, and now you're going to hear from Chris Connelly, Jaguars wide receiver, right now.
I'm going to try to keep this as short as I can. There's a wealth of a welling up of emotions that has swept over me the past week. I'm just going to do my best to keep things short, but I had to write it down because I didn't want to get up here and just have all that emotion overflow. But watching the events that have happened with Ahmaud Arbery, and starting with Ahmaud Arbery, the video when it got released, I sat in my house upstairs in my office and I just began to cry because I saw someone who looked like me, someone who looked like my brother, someone who looked like my friends get shot down and fall on the street like an animal. And that hurt me because I've seen it time and time again. And so forgive me if I'm long-winded, but I'm gonna get through this. The events of the last few months have culminated and shook the nation. For many, opening their eyes to something the marginalized have pointed out the whole time. What I and others know is that these atrocities have been foreshadowed. They have been allowed to manifest because of years of systemic indoctrination and oppression. I urge you today, brothers and sisters, to know this history. Study it, seek it, because through it, though it may make you uncomfortable, it will lead towards change. George Santayana said, "Those who cannot remember the past are doomed to repeat it." And the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said that we are not makers of history, we're made by it. We cannot allow comfortability of revisionist history to disarm our minds and weaken our convictions. A Confederate monument sits a couple blocks from here, praising the South's dark past. Our revisionist history would tell us that it's there to honor men fighting for states' rights. But true history would tell us that in the Cornerstone Address, Alexander Stephens said that our states are built on the fact that the Negro is inferior, and slavery and subordination is his normal and natural state. That's true history. This monument sits a block from where the Axe Handle Saturday happened in Jacksonville. A block from it, reminding people in this city of what's happened to them. True history would remind people that not only Confederate sympathizers butchered black people in the streets, but police joined in too. Revisionist history is what allows us to believe that systemic racism isn't real, or that racism isn't of itself is only isolated incidents, not instilled by government-backed segregation, not instilled by a history of bias and policing. Revisionist history is what allows people to say, yes, these things happen, but that was the past. Can't we just move on? Richard Rothstein said, let bygones be bygones isn't a legitimate wish if we wish to call ourselves a constitutional democracy. Protests like this one and peaceful protests across the country are fighting for our Constitution. They're fighting for our democracy. So I plead that everyone out there would get out and they would demonstrate, they would do it peacefully. And to those people who are trying to detract from this movement, who are trying to add on and instill hate and riots, we won't let you hijack this moment. We won't let you do it. Fighting for inequality. Fighting inequality that allows 20% longer sentences on average for African American men. Fighting inequality that allows black adolescents to be 18 times more likely to be charged as adults. Everybody look around at the kids here, man. A black adolescent is 18 times more likely to be charged and convicted as an adult. That's what we're fighting today. We're fighting inequality that would allow this league to marginalize and to leave players in 2016 when they stood up and said that there was a problem. That's what we're here to fight today. That's what you're all here for today. Today we say no more. Today we see a nation that can't await change, a city that won't sit still or be quiet. Today I'm surrounded by brothers and sisters of every color who've rallied together to echo the cries of George Floyd, to echo the cries of Breonna Taylor, to echo the cries of Ahmaud Arbery, and the countless others like them. Today we're encouraged. Today we're emboldened. Today we know that that change will come. Today I'm surrounded by you, and I pray for you that you would abound in love and knowledge and deep insight, like Philippians 1:9 says. This is a marathon and not a sprint. Every woman and child and man can sustain this for more than just a moment and make sure that this is a movement. Right now, I challenge all of you to learn this history, to learn our country's true history, not so that it makes you comfortable, but so that you can be empowered to go out and make true change, so that you can go out and, as they say, you can beat them at the ballot, so that you can weaponize the voters in this city to get people who will truly represent each and every one of us. Voters can do this right now. Movements like this can do this right now. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to my black brothers and sisters who are out here. I want to say thank you to my white brothers and sisters who are out here. I want to say thank you to every single child who is out here, younger person who is out here, because you're seeing an example of what the future can be. You're seeing an example of a future that's fighting for you. For you. Right now, I'm fighting for you. When I saw that video, I saw you. I saw you. I saw all you. Thank you to all of you. This is only the beginning. Don't let people rile you up. Don't let people tell you that you're not worth it. When they say Black Lives Matter, they're saying Black Lives Matter because they're hurt right now. We're not saying they matter more. And everyone here, I hope everyone here knows that. But let's show it. This is only the beginning here in Jacksonville. Let's make sure that we maintain this momentum so it's not a movement, and this is a movement. Thank you.
Powerful message, powerful words from Jaguars wide receiver Chris Connelly. And Marcus Pollard, the Jaguars player liaison, has been kind of emceeing this event from the steps of JSO. Here he is again.
For some outstanding words. At this time, we're going to proceed back to the stadium so we can get our coaches and players to lead the way back. And then once we arrive at the stadium, we'll go back to the statue where Coach Marone will address the group once again. Thank you guys again for coming. We appreciate it. We're going to start walking back that direction now.
That is Marcus Pollard, and obviously the Jaguars and their staff and their coaches on the steps here at JSO have made the march from team headquarters. And you heard some very emotional and powerful statements while here on the steps at JSO from Terry Revitsky, Jaguars running back coach, who has been around the NFL for a long time and praised the Jaguars organization for what they've done to be able to put this together, how Doug Marrone and the players led this charge as well. And then Chris Connelly, who we have seen eloquent before on the football field and talking about football, very eloquent here and powerful message that he shared with everybody else right here in downtown Jacksonville. So right now the march is going to head back to team headquarters, TIAA Bank Field. Probably take about a half hour or so, and then we will hear from head coach Doug Marrone, who along with the players helped organize this peaceful protest here in Jacksonville this morning. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Hey, Brent, just a few questions before we leave you. I was listening to your live stream a little bit earlier about what 80% of the players aren't in town because of the pandemic, but there's a good turnout there today, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. There's a fantastic turnout, and I'm not sure anybody knew exactly what was going on and going to happen in terms of the numbers. Quite frankly, I had visions of maybe being 50 to 100 people. I would say there are a few hundred people out here this morning, and it is mainly made up of coaching staff, some players, and also staff members, but all their families, too. And I heard there were 500 shirts that were ordered to be able to be handed out to whoever was going to take part. And I think they might have run through almost all of those 500 shirts this morning. So the players, are not at the facilities because of the pandemic. This is a time where normally they would be for mini camps and OTAs, but they have been doing a virtual period. And I've also heard that much of the discussion this week has not had to do with football or installations or what's going to happen in the fall or Gardner Minshew running the offense. It has to do with what's going on in society today. That's not just a Jacksonville Jaguar thing. I think that's all across the NFL, guys.
And Brent, something that's just so interesting to me, it was touching to see the coaches and the players together with their families taking a knee for a minute, giving a moment of silence and memory to the man in Minneapolis, George Floyd, who died with a knee in his neck. And what's so interesting as well is Colin Kaepernick always saying, this is something that we need to do together, is take a knee in remembrance of those who have fallen to police brutality in so many instances. And now we have Shad Khan coming out and saying earlier this week that there has to be unity among all people, that we have to stand together, and it's supposed to be justice for all, not just justice for some. And so he's pretty much led the charge on this.
Absolutely. Shad Khan's op-ed was very powerful, and I think there are so many people that responded to that. That was not just a Jacksonville reaction. I think across the country that was shared. The NFL as a powerful shield and a powerful platform, and Shad Khan used it. There have been powerful statements by different sports organizations, but Shad Khan, as the only minority owner in the NFL, as the epitome of the American dream, coming over from Pakistan and sharing his thoughts on racism and inequalities and social injustice, was definitely a powerful moment throughout the last week or so. But he also said that we need to turn these words into actions, and I think this is the first step for this Jaguars organization to take some action. Now, Shad Khan is not here at this event. He wanted to be, I've been told, but he is up in the Midwest as they are reopening some of his bumper businesses, Flex and Gate, and some of the factories coming off the pandemic up in the Midwest. So I've been told he wanted to be here, but is not here. Obviously, head coach Doug Marrone is here. And I want to just reiterate something you said about the powerful moment with kneeling down on the steps here at Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And yes, I think it does kind of correlate and relate to the message that Colin Kaepernick was trying to portray years ago. But I also think very powerful about it was that the Jaguars people and players and staff were next to Ernest Wilford, who now wears a JSO uniform. He's a member of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. He used to play football in the NFL. He used to play for this franchise as a tight end. And so pretty powerful moment there on the steps of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office with Ernest Wilford marching with the Jaguars and taking a knee on the steps of JSO.
And Brent, for those who would like to hear the statement that Shad Khan made, we have it on our social media platforms. You can go to Facebook. Many people are watching us on Facebook and watching this march live as we speak. And so if you scroll down, you'll see that message from Shad Khan. But also Leonard Fournette says that he wants to have a march sometime next week.
Yeah, absolutely. You've seen other players say things, and Leonard Fournette has always been instrumental in community, from New Orleans all the way here to Jacksonville. Now, he's had his issues on the field and sometimes even off the field, but he is a big member of the community wherever he lives, and he has said on social media that he wants to organize a peaceful protest next week. We don't know the details on that. I think Leonard will share more of that. I also think it's worth telling everybody, because we've had this question asked, and I'll reiterate what I said earlier. The public wasn't really invited to this march, but I think that was in main part because the players and coaches organized this event. This wasn't something that, if you will, came from the top down of the organization where they were going to spread the word over a couple of days period. I think instead this was something the players initiated in their virtual calls through the last week and their conversations. So I think I've been told that there will be more actionable events like this that the public can join hands in with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We don't know specifics about that. We don't know specifics about what Leonard Fournette plans to do as well. But we have not seen Leonard Fournette here, so I don't think he's in town at the moment, but plans to do something in Duval, in Jacksonville next week. One other thing, guys, I would like to mention, see some former players here, as well as the current players that are in town and able to participate. So Denard Robinson, who was former draft pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars, he joined the walk at TIAA Bank earlier today, and there could be others as well.
Yeah, Brent, I want to say, too, you're doing a great job talking with us as you're walking there, because I know it's probably about a mile or so, maybe a little over a mile between TIAA Bank Field and over to Maxwell House and then back there. But we understand when, I think you were mentioning, or one of the players mentioned that as soon as they get back to TIAA Bank Field, possibly Doug Marrone will be talking as well.
Absolutely, and Doug Marrone, I think, is an important part of this. Earlier this week, we shared a tweet made by a former player, and I don't think this got a lot of publicity. We did share it on Action Sports Jacks on CBS 47 and Fox 30. We also talked about it on our radio show on ESPN 690, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday. And Peyton Thompson, a former player, addressed, I think this was on Monday, tweeted that he was told by members of the organization like Tom Coughlin and Doug Marrone, and he actually called them by name in 2017, that they could not kneel in protest in London. And Shad Khan stepped in and said he wanted to unite with the players. And if you remember correctly, that highly controversial protest before the London game for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Shad Khan interlocked arms with Doug Marrone and Telvin Smith, Mercedes Lewis, and Brandon Linder. And about a dozen players did kneel, including Calais Campbell and Jalen Ramsey and Leonard Fournette. Well, in about a 24-hour span, Doug Marrone had conversations with Peyton Thompson, the former player, and they cleared the air about some things. And Peyton Thompson, a day later, then shared comments about that conversation, saying Doug Marrone separated himself from others in the organization that day in their conversation, and also said he's done a lot to be an activist for the black community, for his players. And Wednesday night, the peaceful protest in San Marco, now where the Marrones live, Doug Marrone, his wife, and his kids were part of that peaceful protest. So I think now you're getting a sense of Doug Marrone's leadership in this regard. He was given credit today by many of the folks here during this march, and of course the players too, for organizing it. And now we will hear from the head coach of this football team coming up here in just a little bit as we make our way back to the stadium.
Right. And another live report from Brent Martineau on Action News Jax at noon. But a big statement from Josh Lambo saying, I'm not African American, but I do realize that my brothers on the team have been hurt. The community feels hurt, and I just want to stand with them. And I just think that that's a huge statement from him.
You can continue to stream this online as well on actionnewsjax.com.
This has been a CBS 47 Fox 30 Action News Jax breaking news update. For continuing coverage of this story, download the Action News Jax news app.